Good day, Jeffrey.
Good day, Paul. Welcome back from PsyOp. We hope you had a good conference out in Nolo.
Yeah, I might have had a Sazerac too many, but other than that, it was a great conference. You and I put together a survey to ask some of the PsyOpstonians, PsyOpers, the PsyOp conference attendees,
Attendees, yes.
yes, how they were using AI. And you and I just analyzed that. And I don't know, you want to start us off and talk a little bit about what we found?
Yeah, so one of the first questions we were just asking just how people were using it. And one of the things that came up was, I thought was very interesting because it's like I could relate to this, was AI is being primarily used as a cognitive amplifier for writing and analysis and workflow design. Now, this is, again, we have to think about these are IO psychologists, so they're, you know, consultants and practitioners and academic professionals. But, you know, I definitely kind of see it that way. It's a tool that is helping me think through things, helping me analyze things, support the research that I'm doing. And that's very much the way these individuals are using it as well. So, and I love the idea. It's like the cognitive amplifier, right? It's helping you um, it's helping your own thoughts kind of get clearer and amplify what you're doing as opposed to where I think sometimes people think about AI as replacing your own thinking and your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
I think that get done. There's a a trap with that, or people are not really doing their own thinking. That's a whole nother
Mm-hmm.
conversation. But when you're
Mm-hmm.
using it, I think in a good way, it is a sparring partner. It is a tool that helps you with your own thinking.
Yeah, I like that term too, that amplification. It occurs to me that the more I type in to AI, I predominantly use Chat GPT. The more I type in, the more files I give it, the more information I let it have, the better the conversation is, quote, conversation, unquote. Right. So it's a way, again, that amplification, like here's the themes that I'm picking out from what you have written or what you are saying. It is like a thought partner. The ability for someone mostly objective, I guess, to say, did you notice this? Or have you thought about something else? I think if I'm going into it with only typing questions like it's Google, like, hey, tell me blah, 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 that's when you're opening yourself up for hallucinations and other bad, nasty things. Um, Another finding that we had here was, and again, it's probably because of the population, a lot of folks are already moving beyond basic prompting. They're looking for something more analytical and more complex. Not a surprise in a conference of data savvy, statistically oriented folks. Natural language processing is something we had in our collective tool belt anyway, for at least a decade. So it makes sense that we are really leaning into that, either because it's quicker or because it can be more complex than what we can do on our own. But that made a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, I think it also, but I do want to kind of think outside of IO professionals. I mean, I do think of, like I know uh, my son who with his medical articles, like he does use it to skim the articles and summarize things. So there are that NLP element. I see that people are probably applying it in different ways. So we
Mhm.
use it to summarize like survey comments and things like
Yep.
that. But there are people that are summarize my email. Like that's something that I have built my own agent that at the end of the day, like go through my emails for the day and just anything that's a to do to come pull it out, right? So I do think people are learning like that is a key power for it. So that does make sense. Um, but I don't think the deeper analytics out of it is probably as common, and partly because I'm not sure that many people are working with that kind of data, right? It's not every job is working with mass amount of data, uh,
Mhm.
uh, but I think maybe it's hopefully people are kind of getting beyond, hey, help me write a better email, and starting to think, this could help me organize my email, or it can help me, search through and find trends, which is getting a little bit beyond just those basic prompts and thinking about it more analytically. That's There's a lot of power in there if you start digging into it that way.
Mhm. Yeah. So I agree with you. My one daughter, who is a lawyer, they have I guess, a specialized AI tool, sort of a closed off data lake, where it is used to find and to summarize and to look for patterns among different cases, obviously for whatever purpose she's using it. Um, yeah, I hear you. So a lot of thoughts in my head. There's an evolution that's going on in terms of how we're using it, which it needs to, right? We need to evolve into how we're using the tool and learn what it can do and what it can't do and where it is most helpful for us. So yeah, a lot of thoughts, but let me turn back to the survey that here. Um, One of the findings we had was talking about frustration that was coming, but not because of AI in terms of its hallucinations and everything else, but more, and I completely agree with this, formatting and reliability and verification. It seems like the most complex things, 95% of the time, are working, and the dumb, stupid things like, can you produce a PowerPoint, that looks halfway decent? Apparently not, even though we're promised that that's what it should be good at. And so um, I,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm really guilty of that. I just realized, like, I have a very simple graphic to support my LinkedIn post the other day. AI drew the graphic. It could not spell leadership correctly. Like everything else is like perfectly, just perfect graphic and look, but I can't spell leadership. So
well, if it's really based on the general population of internet use, maybe
right.
none of us can spell leadership. I've been spelling it wrong for decades, Jeff.
Right. Maybe that's the case, but I mean that is there's little things where it does sometimes feel like the simplest things are the ones that it struggles with the most, and that is extremely frustrating. It just goes to really undermine again, never to let your guard down, and it is something to remind people that you have to really check and validate, and really it just makes sense. Even what we were talking about earlier with the NLPs and things, like, what do I know about this database? Does this make sense? Is this really reading through things? If I read 25 of these comments, would I be getting the same gist, right? So
Yeah.
um, we it's very easy to become lax and to just take it as word, but it is still flawed. It is getting better, but it does have its issues. And you're right. We have to remember it's learning from what's out there in the world, and if things are, yeah, if 90% of the population doesn't spell leadership correctly, it
Which,
it's probably going to make that mistake, right? So we need to be mindful of the how it learns and
right, right.
the flaws that can happen as a result of that.
Yeah, yeah, I wouldn't have thought that leadership would be a word that would have tripped us up or tripped up the supercomputers and
Yeah,
their data energy sucking data centers that are there. But here we are. I will say this: one of the patterns that I learned about in working with some survey firms when they were creating prompts to do the NLP, the processing of comments, open comments, and surveys, they found that the lengthier the comment was, the more weight that comment would receive, probably because there was just more data there. You can, it's not treating the unit of analysis as being each record, but the amount of words. So if you write 1,000 words to my 20, your comment is way more important to AI, which is obviously
My
wrong on
my
so many.
my why what my word always should carry more weight. I don't AI would know this. Anyway, yeah, so there is frustration with reliability and formatting, and yeah, I've experienced that on a daily basis. I have argued with AI as my thinking partner too. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I've said you don't know what you're talking about, and of course they come back and say you're right. Um,
Yeah,
I'm
good.
mistaken.
You're right to call me out on that,
Yeah,
Jeff. I should have let you know 20 minutes ago that what I was saying was complete garbage. Uh,
exactly,
So, which
exactly.
is a great lead in. One of the other findings, we asked a question about when you disclose that you're using AI. And we had some folks who were saying, I'm open about it. Like, this is a tool. I own my thinking, I own my thoughts, and this is a tool. And I think you were, before we hit record, you were talking about, what am I supposed to do? Give Excel credit for, helping me with some numbers, or give Word credit for this document? That's what this is. Note that the reliability of output from Word and from Excel far exceeds AI at this time, but that's another matter. The other side of that, people conceal their use of AI when the output makes it seem like it's less authentic. And we are now talking about this on social media. God forbid I use an M dash, which now I have fallen in love with the M dash. It's a one when it gives me 5 M dashes in a paragraph, and I'm trying to figure out, well, now what do I do with this? I'm using a colon. I'm saying, no, we got to make a different sentence. And I'm like, damn it. The M dash is just, it's like a built in, hey, you know what? Here's a related thought that I don't want to bother to make grammatically fitting into this sentence. Boom.
Just,
Right. And so
just
talk about, what gets used. So that all made sense to me as well, that we think about it as ours, which I think, we talked about our content that we're putting in there. Now, whether or not others who are not putting a lot of content and are taking this output from AI and saying, nope, I asked it, and therefore this is I don't know. I can't speak to that. I don't use it frequently that way. Any
right.
thoughts on that finding?
Yeah, I mean, I think the what kind of thing is like when it is being used as part of a process. I think that's where I often will disclose it in myself. Like we use AI to help make this matching, or we use AI for the NLP component. So we talk about more as when we leverage the tool for the
Mm,
process. But like I'm not gonna say, oh, I use AI to help me edit this sentence or paragraph. Like I just doesn't it that just feels excessive to kind of go into all that, and where's the line for it. And I think that's what we were kind of seeing in the in the survey. One person, it feels too invisible to mention naturally, like it you know like how are you
yeah.
kind of gonna bring that out. Um so yeah, I think there's a judgment there, but um, it is a tool. I do think that there's a whole other conversation about it. Like, is it what is your work versus
Yes.
AI, and that is um, you're is there an ethical responsibility to what you represent? So,
Ethical.
did
Wow.
you did you make that gong yourself, Paul? That's amazing.
I spent all weekend forging the metal,
Wow.
working on the mallet. I had 17 microphones in this room to make sure I got it just right.
That's amazing.
Just to wrap up the survey itself, we found that participants were excited about what AI could do for their career and anxious about what AI could do to their career, which I think sums up my feelings pretty accurately. So, well, Jeff, you said a separate conversation. Maybe, just maybe, we'll have a separate conversation about some other aspects of AI coming up. But right now, it's time to say happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Have a great weekend. Interact with real people if you can, or Paul.
I was going to say, be really selective, if you know what I mean.